Hey, entrepreneurs, executives, and spammers. We started the Pilot House email and customer retention team to crush targets. And in our fourth year, we are the best customer retention team in the Roman character set. We use campaigns to fire up the addresses you spent so much money to acquire and build effective automations that keep your engagement window fat and drive value that you can amortize over years. The cheapest customer is the customer you already have, and the most effective ad funnels go to high-intent audience. Come to pilothouse.co, fill out the lead form, and ask to speak with me directly. I'll give you a free audit. Back to the show.
In the inbox late night, glowing screen, see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
Everybody uses a pop-up, like every single brand has one. Why are they using the generic Klaviyo one? We love Klaviyo, but why use a basic pop-up if we can get a better one going? The thing everyone kind of thinks about first with pop-ups, right, is design, because it's the most obvious. We have a lot of brands and we get about 150 million views a month on our pop-ups, so we have a lot of really good data to tell us what's moving the needle and what's not. Design is important, but we've actually seen that design is one of the things that moves it less than copy, timing, segmentation. These things actually tend to move the needle more.
It's the world's best email and retention podcast, and I'm your host, Jordan Gordon. We are a member of the DTC network of podcasts and the philosophical home of the Pilot House email and customer retention team. If you want to make the sweet nectar of low-cost revenue a large part of your digital ecosystem, then follow us on your favorite podcast app today. This time, we are joined by Shaan Arora, who is the founder of Alia, which is a pop-up tool, but and more. So we're gonna go into that today and talk about all the things that it does, but also maybe just talk about how our team has been using it right now in an early capacity and how it kind of got us excited. And whenever something gets me excited, I say, hey, let's get them on the pod. So we're gonna go through that today. So Shaan, nice to meet you. Why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
For sure. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm Shaan Arora. Started Alia about 2 years ago at university. And what we do is really simple. We do pop-ups and we care about being extraordinarily good at that one thing and not doing anything else.
Yeah. Just to jump right in so everybody can get some context of why we got excited. We were able to, because this is the meat and bones of this talk, we were able to, with a client of ours, no joke, 5X their welcome program, using your tool as part of a broader strategy. And so it wasn't just like, hey, we got Alia and turned it on and everything went like that, but it was how much we could do with the tool, right? And that's why I say, pop-up and more. It's like, I guess, super pop-up. I don't know, I don't know how there's not really a category for it necessarily, right? Other than super pop-up, but just that flexibility, it just allowed us to do the things we wanted to do and really address a market need. That's what got us excited.
Nice. Love to hear that.
But before we get into that, I would love it if you would tell us just about, your history, a little your story and what brought you to being the founder of this great tool, and then maybe where you see yourself going forward.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'll probably give a bit more color on what we do. So yeah, at Alia, we focus on pop-ups. Most brands see between like a 3 to 5% opt-in rates. Opt-in rate, typically ours is closer to 10 to 15%. So, a lot of alpha there, which is super cool. The way we do it is by having great design and running tests that automatically, using AI, actually figure out what is the optimal pop-up, run tests on the pop-up, and then run more tests continuously. And like that too, that for us has been a huge unlock. Work with about 2,500 e-commerce brands. Some of the coolest brands, in my opinion, are Peloton, Aviator Nation, Hexclad, Caraway, Nike Strength, Tom's, and a bunch of other really cool ones too. So work with a ton of awesome brands. 2 years ago, though, we had 0 brands, so it's been a lot of growth in 2 years. So yeah, essentially, how we started was I was actually building something for a club at my university campus where students could learn about fintech. That was what I was building back then, was fintech, and get rewarded in my school's currency, which was Husky dollars. Imagine you learn about a fintech concept and get rewarded. We were like, hey, can we bring this into e-commerce? And I had no experience in e-commerce, nor SaaS, nor startups, but I was like, I think this could be something cool in the e-commerce. So we actually launched that product about 2 years ago, which is quite different from where we are today. And that product was actually a loyalty program for e-commerce brands where their customers get more loyalty points as they learn more about a brand. So that was like the initial idea. We were building that and trying our best to sell to customers. I was doing a lot of cold outbound, hopping on sales calls, failing a lot at these sales calls, but trying my best. And then 6 months later, we pivoted to pop-ups because a lot of our customers were kind of asking for that. And we saw there was a gap. And so, yeah, in January 2024, we pivoted to be a pop-up tool. We had about 25 e-commerce brands and decided to go all in on that. And since then, it's been a fantastic journey where we've been just so dedicated to this one part of the tech stack. And we came to the realization early that, hey, if we can like be miles ahead of competition, everybody uses a pop-up. Like every single brand has one, right? And it's like, why are they using the generic Klaviyo one? We love Klaviyo. Klaviyo recommends us actually to their customers. So we love Klaviyo, but why use a basic pop-up if we can get a better one going? And that's kind of the story we've had these past year and 10 months since we pivoted to pop-ups, and it's been exciting. And kind of where I see myself going and the company going is just creating a larger and larger gap between our tool and the second best pop-up tool in the market.
Amazing. And it is an important touch point. It's like a choke point. And in fact, if anybody wants to go back and check the most recent, maybe 1 or 2 episodes ago, I talked about choke points on a website capacity. And so this would, if we put email aside, this would be kind of like one of your earliest choke points on a website capacity. Super important. I mean, just to talk back to that episode, there's 2 choke points on any critical page, and it's the thing you must do to progress, which in this case is like hit the button, put the thing and hit the button, and then also heat mapping. Where the most attention is outside of that, and that's the double choke point in every spot. And wow, what a choke point this is! You're right. Every single person uses it. And when you talk about this specialization, and love Klaviyo. We love Klaviyo too. I've used lots of senders, and it just gets the job done, right? But I've used, I don't know, a dozen senders or something like that, and I've audited a dozen more, right? And I know that out there's about 1,000 senders, right? And 99.5% of them are hard to use, garbage, just a massive waste of time, and they're just using their sales funnel to keep customers
Yeah.
in and ruin their brand equity. That's kind of what that's what the sender landscape is. And everybody who starts doing a pop-up, they immediately try to become a sender because of course there's money there. You know what I mean? And right? And then we're in the situation where we're like, oh, you've got this other SMS sender, or you've got this other thing going on, and it's got flows, it's doing all this stuff that we're already doing with Klaviyo. To have you just specialize right there, it gets us happy, first of all, and it also lets you focus on the flexibility that allowed us to have some really interesting initial successes that make us want to roll you out on some more clients. I'd love to talk to you about some of the functionality that you think is really exciting and that could help our audience. But also, before I do that, let me just confirm, as with everybody in the World's Best Email and Retention podcast, Shaan and I there's no financial arrangement where he's paying to go on this podcast. There's nothing like that going on. We just nailed it with someone and we're like, whoa, okay, you're my audience. I want to bring this to my audience. So just so you guys understand, I personally see an opportunity here, which is why I even surfaced this, not because I'm getting my pockets padded. So that being said, why don't you talk about some of those interesting, some of the interesting things that people can do with the tool?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the thing everyone kind of thinks about first with pop-ups, right, is design, because it's the most obvious. Interestingly enough, right, imagine we have a lot of brands and we get about 150 million views a month on our pop-ups. So we have a lot of really good data to tell us what's moving the needle and what's not. So design is important, but we've actually seen that design is one of the things that moves it less than copy, timing, segmentation. These things actually tend to move the needle more. So design is important to maintain the aesthetic of the brand, but it's less important if you're thinking about how can we get the most amount of quality opt-ins possible. From a design perspective, what we've seen work and still works today is full screen pop-up definitely does increase opt-in rate. We track conversion rate, AOV, and bounce to make sure that, hey, like how is a full screen pop-up affecting the site? We typically don't see any decrease in CVR with a full screen pop-up, surprisingly enough, and that's across our brands. So the thing that really moves the needle for pop-ups, and time again, it's the answer is testing, right? It's really interesting because a pop-up that let's say we work with Obvi, which does supplements, and we work with Aviator Nation, right? Like someone might think, oh, Aviator Nation has such a great pop-up, let me copy it. And while that reasoning is super fair to think, like it's actually pretty different industry by industry and customer group by customer group. Like different things work for different companies. So we find the most important part of a pop-up is not the design, it's not the copy, it's testing what is the optimal flow for your brand. And the first test we like to run is copy, right? So copy variants. Let's say you try get 10% off versus you've got an exclusive gift versus you've got a mystery gift versus you've earned 10% off, right? Some of these may sound like nuances, but in reality, like it leads to big impacts. So testing is a huge piece of this. And the way in which we think about testing is we have AI that actually creates the tests that are then approved by the brand and then runs the tests for the brands. Imagine creates a test, ends the test when it finds significance, starts a new one, and starts a new one, and starts a new one. Imagine your pop-up is continually evolving and improving because we have automated testing. And let's say you don't use Alia, like totally cool. You should still be running tests in Klaviyo or PostScript, whatever you use, because that's the needle mover. It's running tests, but also knowing like what tests to run.
So I'll just say that one of the critical things that about your tool that allowed us to nail it was not what you listed there. We're gonna keep what it was close to. We're gonna keep those cards close to our chest because that's actually Pilot House Alpha. But the nice thing to say to your audience is what he just said is like bang on. I mean, you have to iterate to learn, but even then, beyond that, there's some exciting stuff to discover that can really make a difference when you're trying to nail it with a brand. Yeah, you are someone. It's creating variants, and then someone is on the brand side is accepting those variants. It runs the test, and I guess the goal there is to have that as seamless as possible, so someone can go in and just go like yeah, and get the results. That's really cool. I mean, am I able to go in there and edit it at that point as the brand side, or do you actually want to like no, we don't want the brand putting all their biases in there. It's actually going to ruin the test.
So before the test starts, we make sure the brand is okay with the tests that are going to be run. So it's not like the AI just runs everything and you have no say. It's like, I think at some point we'll probably get there with technology, but I don't think we're there today. And I think it's important to have a human in the loop today. So we do that, right? And the human in the loop is usually going to be the brand person. So it's like, hey, we're okay with these copy variants. We're okay with these timing of the pop-ups and like run the test inside of these parameters.
I wonder if you can, talk about you're in it. What do you see happening with kind of email and SMS in the next 5-10 years? You know what I mean?
Over the next 5 to 10 years, AI is going to create a lower barrier to entry for everything. Whether that's making a new Shopify store, making a new SaaS company, building out emails, building out SMS flows, like AI is going to play a huge role in that. And I think the question that I'm looking to answer, and I think everyone else is too, is how do you maintain really high quality in a world where AI can generate stuff that is really high quality too, but might not feel as authentic? And like, I think a lot of it might come down to real personalization and real human touch. So like, to me, if I get an email and it actually looks like Jordan sat down and wrote that email, like, or Jordan actually sent me that text, I'll probably open it. But if it's like clearly AI, like it's like, okay, like I know that I know that Gemini or some engine wrote this. So like yeah, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, like that's gonna be what's going on. I mean, we already see it with social media, right? Like TikTok and Instagram has a ton of AI content videos, like so much, and it's so easy to produce it and launch it. It's like, how do you be so far from what AI can produce? In my opinion,
Yeah, that's interesting. I had a situation where I got onto YouTube but not signed in because like I do like I pay for my YouTube premium. I don't want to see ads. I work in advertising. I do not want to see
yeah,
ads on my free time, right? As far away as I can get. So I ended up on a machine that was unsigned in and didn't have any kind of customized algorithm to my needs or my wants. And and this happens once in a while where you get to see like what's
what's the
actually out there.
yeah? It's so
You know,
funny.
like what does the algorithm just say? Hey, you're a completely random person. Here's what we're going to give you, and we think it will be the most successful because this is what the average person likes. And what I noticed was it was like there was so much slop. Like it was so much AI slop. I couldn't believe it. Like weird things like fake Olympic interviews. You know what? Like just weird stuff like this. You know what I mean? Like what is
Yeah.
it? I guess fake Olympic interviews get a lot of clicks, right? I mean, so yeah, I agree. That's going to be an interesting challenge. Although I think platforms are going to do something with that. Where platforms are going to start getting quite strict. I mean, already in email after the form fill, we're always facing this fight of staying kind of in the inbox, right? And and windows shrink. What can we do to keep that window wide and stuff like that? And as volume increases, there'll just be these massive breaking points where, like, yeah, I think probably Gmail and Yahoo take a fairly light hand until you've been really offensive, and it'll just start being a smackdown, right? And the nice thing there is that actually, I mean, you're talking about authentic content. Okay, well, pushing authentic content in an automated fashion, we lean on the automations to get a lot of inboxing because you actually get a lot of advantage targeting people who are actually going to engage, but then show them authentic content. So being that you are, I mean, it's interesting. You're kind of producing exactly the opposite of what you just said. You know what I mean? You're actually producing some automated content, which is kind of ironic and funny, although successful, like right now, killing it. Have you thought about how you'll pivot or what you'll do in future to kind of empower that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think pop-ups will still have a place in the future of e-commerce, but I think they'll need to get even more sophisticated. And the way in which we think we can be as sophisticated as possible is like building out more complex segmenting and targeting, and like segmentation and targeting, right? Like how do you create what feels like one-to-one experiences? I think that's like kind of what every software tool is trying to do. To be honest, is like how can you create one-to-one experiences with customers? But I think it truly is the future, and it's probably how we see it too, right? Like for example, what we're building right now is pretty interesting. Like essentially smart offers. Imagine you were to go to a site and you need 5% to convert, but I need 10% to convert, right? Like let's say I'm already like engaged, like I'm coming from meta ad and meta ads tend to convert higher for this brand. So I don't need maybe I need a lower discount because I'm already higher engaged and you need a lower one. Right? This is like, how do we show the right offer to the right customer? And that's just one of the examples of things we care about.
And are
It's
you
like,
doing that? Are you doing that specifically based purely on source? Is there anything you use other than source?
yeah, so we're building it out right now with all the logic, but it's like source, shopping habits if they've been to the site before, as well as like device type, country, state. And like let's say like they come from a specific device from a specific country and we know the conversion rate on that nuance is like 0.5%, but the conversion rate on a different device from a different country is closer to 7%, and that data is significant. That person with 7% probably doesn't need a 20% opt, probably needs a lower discount than the cohort of people who are not converting at a high rate.
Yeah, I recently went and bought a piece of apparel. Jean jackets are back in. I follow apparel closely, so I bought a jean jacket. I mean, I'm
Nice.
old, but whatever. I'm wearing the Canadian tuxedo, and I bought it, and then afterwards, because I wanted it, and I'm one of those guys. I want it. I went. I bought it, and afterwards, I thought, oh, I didn't even do the pop up. I probably could have got 10% off. I didn't even do it.
Yeah.
I wanted it, and I went and got it. Right? I'm very like left brain like that.
That's super interesting. And I was gonna say like for you, for example, like we wouldn't have to give you anything. But for me, let's say I was not that keen, like I might need 20, 25%. So yeah, like how do you create those one-to-one experiences?
The tricky thing is you're getting less and less information you get to use.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
That's
and
true.
right
Yeah.
as I've said this on the pod before. Sorry, audience, if you hear me repeating myself, but like a lot of this like protecting, like, do we want to protect your identity? Yes, of course I want to protect my identity. It's like they didn't care about our identities for a long time, and I don't talk to people who are like, oh my god, what, you know, these recommendations are following my purchase history. I don't hear that at all. Clearly they're trying to protect their walled gardens of data, which they're feeding into LLMs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, clearly there's the messaging and there's what's really going on always, right? The messaging is never what's really going on. You know, like, these guys are billion-dollar companies. Come on, they've got an agenda. And so, yeah, slowly getting all that data that we can use stripped away. But the logic that you can run becomes more and more sophisticated, so you can start making these decisions even on thinner data. Is that kind of a good way to think about how, you know, you might be kind of moving forward with that?
Yeah, it's a great way to think about it. And I guess the answer for us is like, let's say a store gets like 100, like a million views, a million sessions a month. Like that's significant enough data for us to bake into our models and be like, oh, okay, like customers from this source really convert high. Okay, like that's interesting. Now let's see how does their conversion change if we show them a lower discount. If the conversion stays the same, like the brand now has just saved a lot of money and they
And
haven't.
you're just working on having this fully automated in the back end,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
Like,
so that
yeah.
that's what we're looking to get to. We're not there today, but that's how I see the future of pop-ups is like things like Smart Offer, which we're building, like things like that. I think are the future.
It's interesting. You say there'll be need for pop-ups in the future, and the fact is, like, you know, so every e-commerce purchase, I've run a bunch of analysis on this, and there is less email like use, for instance, in China. People use less email in China, and it's much more. It's all going through kind of government controlled chat programs. Although I am seeing more kind of QQ, which is a Chinese email provider. I am seeing more Chinese email addresses coming through different systems. So there's maybe a shift going there, and people start using email. Bottom line, email is like this monster gift from the gods of the internet, which is like it's part of everybody's life. People check their email before they kiss their significant other in the morning. It's free. Like, you can use it like, it's just this crazy thing that no one thinks about.
That's such a good
And
point. Yeah.
and everybody, like, I've heard my whole career, oh yeah, you know, oh, MySpace is going to kill email, Facebook's going to kill email. Like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like a widowmaker trade to think that that email's ever going to go away, because it was so well designed by these freaky people in California going to Stanford or whatever, you know, who knows what they were doing in the 60s, and then they thought up the internet. This is the gift that we've got from these people. So, like, it's kind of going nowhere. Email's not going anywhere. It's here. It is 4.5 billion active users, still growing at about 4% annually. So there's gonna, and all e-commerce purchases resolve to it. It is the basket that holds all of everything that we're doing on Meta and blah 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 blah. It just falls into email.
Yeah. It's
So
interesting.
yes, there will be a need to collect an email address pretty much forever, right? Even all the social commerce stuff all ends up resolving to email, gets into Shopify, gets into Klaviyo. And this is an interesting question that you may or may not have an answer for, but do you see another mechanism for collecting the email string other than an interstitial like that? Is there another way that might get done in future? You know what I mean?
I think like other ways in which emails can be captured, it's a great question and probably something to think about more. I guess one way to do this, right, is like this idea of like the opt-in network. It's like if you're part of our network, you shopped at brand A and brand A is part of our network. If you shop at brand B could use your email. That's one way to do it. Is it the best way to do it? Probably not, but I think I need to think about it more, how to collect emails not through a pop-up. It's probably something I want to think about more, yeah.
Anything else you'd like to share with our audience for the good of email retention and CRO, and also maybe anything that you'd like to, anything you'd like to say to the audience?
I can just give some tips on pop-ups on email.
Yeah, oh, please.
And like, I'm not here to sell Alia or whatever. Like, use Alia, don't use Alia, but use these tips.
Yeah,
Because it'll make more money for the brand. So one, I think I alluded to this earlier, but one is if you give a 15% or less coupon on the pop-up, try a different copy on it. So you can try something like mystery copy, mystery offer. Try like, hey, especially, I mean, honestly, even during now, it's a good time to do it because it's Halloween, so it could go in that theme, right? But like, here's a mystery offer, or here's like a special gift for you. These things really tend to drive up opt-ins. And the cool thing is you don't need to give out a massive discount. You can give out a 10% discount and get really high opt-in rates. Nike Strength, one of our customers, for example, is seeing double-digit opt-in rate without even doing an offer. So I think people sometimes get confused. They believe that the offer is what drives the most opt-in rates. Again, from working with having 150 million views a month of our pop-ups, like we know that's not necessarily true anymore. So that's one thing. Something else that we've seen work really well is, on average, showing a pop-up at 5 seconds tends to be the optimal time, on average. If you're in doubt, show it at 5 seconds. Do some more tests, but show it at 5 seconds. And then the final thing I'll say is a full screen pop-up is typically going to be better, so try it out. If you're worried about CVR, A/B test it against your current non-full screen pop-up and see how it's going to impact your CVR before you put it live to all the sessions.
5 seconds is close to our own internally tested number, which is nice. I mean, I would be amazed if it just makes me feel good that our number could be right because you've got so much data. So first of all, okay, great, awesome. That's close to our number. But also, anybody in the audience, if you go back and check a couple episodes ago or whatever, I talked about the 4 different stages that someone must progress on their conversion path on a website. And so the first 2 seconds was you got to make sure that your audience, your visitor doesn't think you're an ass. So make sure that there's no errors, it loads fast, just, hey, this is a website that, is functioning. And then the second one is in that 3 to 5 seconds or up to 5 seconds. And this is based on other research from our CRO team. In that 3 to 5 seconds, you must answer the question, is there something here for me? So I know this is a real website, but am I going to get anything out of this? And that has to happen in that 5 seconds. And so to hear you say 5 seconds, it's like, well, yeah, because if you do the pop-up before that, they're not going to know if there's something there for them, and they're going to X out to go look, and then the pop-up's gone. So yeah, that just ties in. It's perfect to hear you say that because it just ties into so much of what we're doing.
And we recommend showing a second pop-up. We have this thing called smart triggering where we actually use AI to figure out when should we show a second pop-up, which is interesting. Or you can, if you're not using all, you can use exit intent and Klaviyo. It works well too.
Is your second pop-up just exit intent, or is there anything else to it?
So that's the cool part about it, right? Is like let's say right, Jordan, you're shopping, you click X on the pop-up when you see it, totally normal flow. We'll then see what pages and how long you're on the site for, and then show a pop-up during the journey that's actually going to be pretty high converting. Let's say like you go on the products page, you go on maybe, I don't know, like you go on like on a different product page, you go on like a collection page, and then you're on the site for 25 seconds more, we'll potentially show the pop-up at that time. And the model actually changes for each brand, which is interesting too. So that type of stuff can be kind of cool. And so yeah, that's how we do second time pop-ups. I think we're actually one of the only tools that have that level of sophistication, but other ones also do it in cool ways.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for the extra tips for our audience. Happy to have you back on, like anytime. Super cool chat. Entrepreneurs, executive spammers, and webmasters. Have fun spamming.
In the inbox late night, glowing screen, see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
Hey, entrepreneurs and spammers. Remember, you can't scale without email. And the cheapest customer to acquire is the customer you already have. So please subscribe to the world's best email and retention podcast and learn how to make low-cost revenue a big part of your digital ecosystem.